Normally I talk about war or the apocalypse in my videos, and indeed with the US election, most coverage across media outlets has been talk of apocalypse as well. Both candidates talk about the last ever election if their opponent wins, and it's just generally speaking very divisive. So let's try something a bit different today. Let's try a top 5 chart of the most wholesome moments in the US election this year. There have been many moments that have made the US election enjoyable, kind of heartwarming, sort of family friendly. We're going to ignore the rest of the doom and gloom and start off then at number 5. And at number 5, it is the Kamala Harris handshake. First handshake at a presidential debate in nearly a decade. Like most things on this list, it probably had ulterior motives. It made her look pretty professional, pretty good, the bigger person. The debate had Trump refusing to acknowledge Harris by name, and he did not look at her during the debate either. Therefore, the forcing of a handshake was a nod to an older, more respectable time when president nominees agreed to disagree. A power move, perhaps, but it was still a handshake. And for that reason, it enters our top 5 at number 5. Number 4, we love family. And while presidents and VP families appear supportive, none more so than Harris's running mate Tim Walz's kid. Tears of joy and pride at his dad climbing the political ladder this high. Normally, teenagers or kids are somewhat embarrassed of their parents and they look away or begrudgingly stand at the stage quite impatient when their parent is taking the limelight. Some mean critics, mostly Republicans, mocked him on the internet for this rather emotional moment. But the sensible Republicans, Democrats united around this moment that it was a wholesome thing. It is very difficult not to feel some level of joy for this family, whatever your political alliances are. Kid's proud of his dad. That's kind of sweet, right? For that reason, it enters number 4 on our top 5 most wholesome moments. In number 3, it is Donald Trump working at McDonald's. Yes, I know this was a very staged event manufactured with happy customers and closing the front end of the store for security purposes. But what a treat it was anyway. The customers were loving it. I liked it when a couple being served said they were just ordinary people, and Trump said, "You're not ordinary." And also there is this moment when a journalist mentions it's Kamala Harris's birthday, and Donald Trump says, "Happy birthday, Kamala." No digs, no jokes, just happy birthday, with what I perceived as an ounce of joy in his voice. He even says that he might send her flowers or a McDonald's burger. Second place is the vice presidential debate, especially this rather tender exchange between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Walz saying his son had been near a shooting, and J.D. Vance saying, "I didn't know that," and then reaching out to him in a moment of support between two very extreme party policies. Cute, wholesome, right? There was also the moment when their wives met after the debate and they embrace. It's quite demure. We had a very divisive presidential debate with Trump and Harris. It is a breath of fresh air to see the vice presidential debate getting along so cordially. There is even a moment when J.D. Vance says that actually he agrees with a lot of what his opponent is saying. They just have different ways of wanting to make a change. And in a way, I feel like Tim Walz is the father that J.D. Vance never quite had. For that reason, it is number 2 in our top 5 most wholesome moments from the US election so far. But it is now time to give the crown to the top most wholesome moment. And at number 1, it is the moment that Joe Biden puts on a Donald Trump MAGA hat. This was filmed several days after Joe Biden had dropped out of the election, so perhaps he was feeling a bit more relaxed, he didn't feel the need to be so divisive. In that moment, a crowd of Trump supporters had encouraged Joe Biden to wear the hat. Biden relinquishes to a heavy cheer and an applause. I chose this moment because it represents a moment of unity in a divided US election. Despite the high stakes, it shows that Americans can get along and laugh despite their differences. For a few moments, the election turns from an 18-plus horror film into a family-friendly comedy. Biden even says he'll keep the hat. The results from this US election will carve out a new direction in US policy, and its events will have a ricochet across the world. There will be much talk in the media of doom and gloom, including from me. But when it feels like the clouds have gathered over the skies of US democracy and you feel like there isn't any hope left, you can maybe come back to this video and think to yourself, it doesn't always have to be that way.